Hey, fourth graders, this is assignment 3 of our writing assignment this week. Each lesson is building on each other. So the first lesson is brainstorming. If you haven't watched that video or participated in the brainstorming session, you need to go back to the first writing assignment and do that. The second writing assignment was choosing one specific fall event and then thinking about the 5 senses with that fall event. So what do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you touch? What do you taste? You should have also done that assignment before you are watching this video. There was nothing to turn in for that assignment, but you should have brainstormed on a sheet of paper at home. For this third part of the writing assignment, we are going to create a draft. And I thought that I would do an example draft with you, and then I'll have you write your own fall draft. So remember, I'm doing an example with winter. I'm writing about winter, you're writing about fall. And the winter event that I thought that I would write about is a snowy winter walk. So this is my 5 senses winter descriptive writing. And we're going to want to start our writing. Remember that you always indent when you start a paragraph. There's some space there. So I'm going to indent. And then I'm going to just start with a descriptive sentence. So I'm going to write, I stepped outside. Okay. So that is giving me an introduction to my winter event. It's a walk outside. And then I need a sentence with all of my 5 senses. So I'm going to start with feel, because as soon as I walk outside in the winter, I'm going to notice and feel that it is cold. So I'm going to say the cold air. I want to be very descriptive in my writing. I don't want to say things, I want to show things. So I'm going to say the cold air stung my cheeks. I remember in my brainstorming that one thing that I talked about feeling was a scarf. So I'm going to include that here. The cold air stung my cheeks. So I pulled my scarf closer to my face. Okay, I think that's good because I've talked about the cold air, I've talked about a scarf, so I feel like that's a good start. So I've talked about touch. Now I'm going to think about taste. So remember, I said that maybe I could bring a hot chocolate. That was one of the things that I brainstormed on my 5 senses writing, that I could taste hot chocolate. So I'm going to say, I took a big sip of my hot chocolate and then wrapped my hands around the warm thermos. That root word therm in thermos means heat. I took a big sip of my hot chocolate and then wrapped my hand around the warm thermos. Now, I need to include a sentence where I talk about what it tastes like, because I've just said that I've taken a sip of it. So I'm going to say, it tasted sweet as it swirled through my mouth. All right, so now I've said that it's tasted sweet. So I've felt something, I've tasted something. Now maybe I should see something. So I'm going to say, as I walked and looked around, I noticed a white blanket of snow covering the trees, ground, and houses. I'm going to do sound now. I was surprised by how quiet everything seemed. the only sound, and I'm looking back at my brainstorm, so everything's quiet, but I remembered I thought I could hear maybe my boots crunching, so I'm going to say the only sound I can hear, the only sound I could hear was my boots crunching in the snow. Now I need to close my paragraph. So I'm going to say it felt so peaceful to be walking in such a magical place. All right. Now, once you get done writing your paragraph, you need to go back and you need to check it. You need to make sure that you have a beginning sentence. You mention all 5 of the sentences and a conclusion sentence. Plus, you want to check to make sure that you have been descriptive, that you've made it sound the way that you want it to sound. So once you're done writing, reread what you wrote out loud to yourself. Read it out loud. It'll help you hear what you need to change. I stepped outside. All right, so I have a beginning sentence. The cold air stung my cheeks, so I pulled my scarf closer to my face. Touch. I took a big sip of my hot chocolate and wrapped my hands around the warm thermos. That's kind of touch too, the warm thermos. It tasted sweet as it swirled through my mouth. So I've got touch and taste. As I walked and looked around, I noticed a white blanket covering the trees, grounds, and houses. So that's something I could see. I was surprised by how quiet everything seemed. The only sound I could hear was my boots crunching in the snow. Sound. It felt so peaceful to be walking in such a magical place. Oh, that's my conclusion sentence, but I've only listed 4 sentences. I'm so glad that I went back and reread what I wrote. So I'm going to look at my brainstorming because I did not include smell. And I've got to look back and see what I said that I could include in smell. And I said I could, the fresh air. So I'm going to go back here after I wrote, the only sound I could hear was my boots crunching in the snow. And I'm going to write the smell of damp pine trees made the air fresh and clean. All right, so I'm going to include that now. So I know I have my introduction, all of my sentences, and my conclusion sentence, but I'm going to reread it again and make sure that it's as descriptive as I want it to be, that I don't want to add any adjectives. So I stepped outside. It's kind of a plain beginning sentence. I want to add to that. I'm going to say I stepped outside into a winter wonderland. The cold air stung my cheeks, so I pulled my big, cozy scarf closer to my face. I'm going to add those adjectives there. I took a big sip of my hot chocolate, then wrapped my hands around the warm thermos. It tasted sweet as it swirled through my mouth. As I walked and looked around, I noticed the white blanket of snow covering the trees, ground, and houses. I was surprised by how quiet everything seemed. The only sound I could hear was my boots crunching in the snow. The smell of damp pine trees made the air fresh and clean. Oh, I need to fix that. I made a spelling mistake. I'm glad I'm looking at this. Made the air fresh and clean. It felt so peaceful to be walking in such a magical place. I love it. I think that I'm ready to submit it. So I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to ask maybe my mom to read it or one of my friends to read it to see if they see any mistakes. I'm going to ask them to make sure there's an introduction sentence that I've included all 5 of my sentences and a conclusion sentence. So what I would like you to do is underneath this video, I'm going to include some directions, and I want you to type up your fall writing. So remember, I did winter, you're going to do fall. Make sure you include an introduction sentence, a sentence for all 5 of your sentences, and a conclusion sentence. This is going to be our first draft. So after you're done typing it, I want you to let go read your other classmates. Guys, if you realize that they've left out a sentence or they don't have an introduction sentence or a conclusion sentence, if you can think of an adjective that maybe they should add to their writing that'll make it better, guys, comment that below. We're here to help each other. Let your parents read it. Let your friends or brothers or sisters at home read it. See if they have any suggestions. So make your first draft, comment on others, and then you'll be able to go to writing assignment 4 when you're all done and you know that you've got it as great as you need to do. That's where you're going to submit your final writing. All right, guys, so make sure you read the instructions below. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll see you later. Bye.